everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be making 3 different projects, and each of these projects utilises scrap pieces of vinyl that you might have. I know I have got quite a lot of scrap pieces of vinyl now, and it's a shame not to use them. So I'm come up with a few different ideas for you to use up your bits of scrap vinyl and make some really nice projects out of it. So this one is actually an upcycling project as well. This is one of those little spice jars that you get, and once we've finished with it, I washed it out and I keep all of my pencil grips in it. And I thought, what a nice way of using up some of my scraps was to make some nice little labels with different colours. They're really nice and colourful, and they'll look really nice on my shelf. Then I have got this mason jar drinking glass that I bought from Poundland, and I made some little tiny daisy flowers that I put all up it, and it just jazzed it up a little bit and used up a bit more of my scrap stuff. And then the last project that I've got to share with you is a frame just with a picture to go on the wall. It would look really nice in a nursery. So I chose this design from Cricut Design Space and just used scrap pieces of my vinyl to make it, and it's going to go in my craft room behind me, so you might see it someday when I'm doing an intro. So let's jump straight into these fab scrappy projects. First of all, I just started out in Cricut Design Space with a flower design that I liked, and I'll link the numbers for these images below for you. Just make sure that you use the hash symbol as well when you're typing in the search. Then I just made myself a little square as a template, and I measured this off of my cup that I'm going to apply my little flower design to, so it's roughly the same size as the side of my mason jar cup. So then I duplicated my flowers and made them, send that to the back, made them a little bit smaller and arranged them on the template box how I thought I wanted them to look. Just messed around with this for a few minutes and got that sorted out so that I liked the way that they flowed up the cup. Just use the rotate handle there to turn it around a little bit to make it a bit more interesting. And I'm just changing the colours on a couple of the daisies so that they stand out a little bit more. Once I'm happy with that, I'm just going to hide my template box, get rid of the spare one, and then select it all and group it together. I just wanted to attach each colour to themselves so that when I go through to the Make It screen, they are all going to be on the same mats together. Next, I set my mat up with my colours of vinyl and cut it out on my machine. I put my vinyl on the same mat but on opposite sides, so then all I need to do once the one layer has finished cutting is just eject the mat and pop it back in the other way around and do the cut straight away without having to get another mat or take the vinyl off of this one to start my next layer. Next up, trim off any excess vinyl and weed your designs. So now I'm just using my X-Acto knife to cut off the extra bits of vinyl that are still on my design, so they'll go back into the scraps pot. And then once I've got the vinyl off there, I'm going to weed on the mat just to make it a little bit easier for myself. I'm using my pin pen, which you can find on Amazon. I'll link that down below for you. So there's my yellow daisies all done. I'll just flip the mat around and do the pink ones. And just take out the centres. Next, I got a small piece of transfer tape. And used a small scraper to just adhere my flowers onto the transfer tape. we can pop them onto our design. Before we take this off the back, we want to get our glass that we're going to put it onto, and we need to clean the surface of the glass. So for this, I'm just using an alcohol wipe. You need to give it a good wipe down and then let it dry naturally. It'll only take a couple of minutes. While your glass is drying, just set it to one side and then peel back the backing paper from your design. I like to peel back as close to a 90-degree angle as I can, as it just helps with lifting back the backing paper easily. I'm just going to put a piece of transfer paper down on my desk so that I can easily see where I'm putting my design. I'm just going to pop it on there, and I'm using a soft squeegee scraper for this. Give it a good press down and peel back your transfer paper slowly. The next fun project that I'm going to make for using up a few of your scraps is a little pencil grip pot, and I'm just going to go into Design Space and make a little design on there. I'm using the font called Phosphate for this one because it's nice and chunky. I'm just going to write out pencil grips and change each letter to a different colour, because I'm going to use a different colour of vinyl for each letter. This is a really great project as well because you can upcycle your little spice jars once they're empty, and it's just another way of helping the environment. Next, I got out the scrap box again and found some colours that I liked. I hadn't got any orange, so I had to get out my big scrap box and grab some orange from that one. Then once I'd got all my bits and pieces sorted out colour-wise, I got my mat and arranged all the different pieces onto my mat individually, so that instead of having to cut out 10 different mats, I was able to just cut everything out in one go off of one mat. This is very similar to using Snap Mat, but because I'm not using a tablet or a phone to do my design, I needed to place my letters manually onto the mat by moving them around so that they would all cut out together. I just made sure to give them a really good braid down with my roller to make sure that everything was stuck properly onto my mat. Next, on the Make It screen with all my mats on the screen, I just moved around each letter from each mat so that it was in the corresponding place where I'd place the vinyl on the cutting mat. Next, I cut everything out on my machine. Once everything's cut, we'll want to weed out our letters. Once all the letters are weeded, we need to make sure they're separated into each individual letter. So here's my transfer tape with my de-sticked bit on it. Now we can start to arrange the letters. So the best way to do this is just to do them all individually onto the transfer tape and just apply each one to the jar. The next project that I'm going to share with you for using up your scraps is a framed picture. I chose this Don't Worry Be Happy from Cricut Access. I'll link the design number below for you as well, so you can see which one it is. Don't forget to use the hash when you're typing into the search box if you're looking for it. And what I found was that there was just 3 colours in this design, but I wanted to make it more colourful. I wanted to change the colours of the lettering to be pink and blue, and it wouldn't let me break it down any further than just the 3 colours. So what I needed to do was get some shapes and slice out the design so that I could then take each piece out individually and then reconstruct the design in the colours that I wanted it to be. On this occasion I wasn't able to use contour. It wouldn't let me, for some reason, contour the pieces out in order to change the colours and duplicate them that way. I did try that first, but it just didn't work. So I just decided to slice everything out, and I thought that would be the easiest way around the problem. Once I'd got all of my design sliced out and all into individual pieces, I just recoloured everything into the colours that I wanted it to be. So I changed the letters to pink and blue, and then I made my bee a brighter yellow and just black for his stripes and his wings. Once I've chosen all of my scraps that I'm going to use, I'm going to pop them on my mat and I'm going to cut them all out using my Cricut machine. Now that all my vinyl's cut, the next thing I will do is trim off any more scraps that I can get off of these pieces because they are a bit big, and then I'm going to weed all of my design. I'm just trimming away all of the excess vinyl so that I can use these pieces again for smaller projects in the future. I like to save every little tiny bit, even if it is absolutely minute. And then once I have trimmed away all of this stuff, I'm going to weed all of the excess that I don't need, and I'm going to weed on the mat. I like to weed on the mat because it makes it easier to hold on to the design, and if any pieces start to lift, you've got a spare hand because you're not holding down your design onto your desk. I'm just using a lint roller to hold on to all of the little tiny pieces that I'm weeding out. This is a really good way of keeping your desk tidy when you're weeding, so that you've not got little bits of excess vinyl stuck all over everything and onto your hands and stuff. Next, I just removed all my designs from the mat by flipping it over and peeling the mat away from my designs just to keep them nice and flat. The frame that I'm going to use for my Be Happy design is this one. It's a 10x8 frame. It was £1.89 from the range, and I think it will be perfect for this project. Just going to take the insert paper and use it to measure out a piece of card to attach my design to. I'm just using a piece of plain white 200 GSM card. Next I got my transfer paper and layered my design onto an old scrap piece of vinyl backing. It's important to go over the back and the front with your scraper tool just to make sure that it's really well stuck onto your transfer tape. The good thing about using the backing paper off the old vinyl is that if I put it in the wrong place, I can lift it up and reposition it. Next I got myself a bigger piece of transfer paper and applied my design to it. I trimmed down the transfer paper so that it was nice and straight to enable me to get the design nice and straight in my frame. Next up I measured my design and found the centre points on each of the sides and just made a small pencil mark on there so that I could use this as a reference to make sure it was straight and evenly aligned when I put it into my frame. So next I just got my piece of card that I'm going to use inside my frame. I took a few pieces of scrap transfer paper and just used those to hold down the corners of the card. This just made it stick nice and securely to my desk, so it helped it to stay still. Then I measured my card and got a few more pieces of scrap transfer paper and just put them at the halfway marks so that I could use those to align my design with my card. Then I didn't need to make any pencil marks on the actual card itself because I was worried about rubbing them out and being able to see them. So now I'm ready to apply my design to my paper, so I'm just going to get my design, and you can see the pencil cross on there really lightly so it's not damaging the vinyl underneath. I'm just going to line it up with my pieces of transfer paper. I'm going to give it one last press down with my scraper and peel away my backing paper, but I need to keep that because I'm going to use it still. What I want to do is pop my transfer paper on top of the backing paper again, just with the top of the design exposed, so I can line up my design with the pieces of transfer paper that are there. And then once I'm happy with it, I can just press down the top of the design and pull out the backing paper. And then I'm just going to grab my extra large Cricut scraper and give it a good press down onto there. And then I'll just peel back my transfer paper. And I can remove my bits of transfer paper from there so that I can lift up my design and pop it straight into its frame. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. I really loved doing something a little bit different. So all that's left to be said now is have a great week. Take care of yourselves and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!